Bodybuilding, it's a 365, 24/7. And when it comes to, it's all on you. You know, it's you versus you. Extreme level of discipline, extreme level of sacrifice. Obviously, it is a sport of extremes. Extreme size of muscle, extreme low body fat. Like everything's pretty extreme in bodybuilding. You could look at somebody that's on the Olympia stage, and it's hard to find a flaw. Bodybuilding and fitness and health, it's a school you got to put yourself through for life. Fitness in general is a lifestyle, but it has to be done for a lifetime, I believe. And I've learned balance in life. Like I don't do this anymore, but I remember going to like an Ozfest concert with some friends, and my like 19 years old, and I had stuffed my pockets with chicken breast and like little Ziploc baggies. And
Hey everybody, welcome back to The Blueprint. Today I'm here with Steve Kuclo, one of the top 5 bodybuilders in the world at one point. He's going to talk to us about health and nutrition and what it's like to be a family man during the whole thing. Stay tuned. Steve, thanks for being in here with us. I really appreciate you coming. Super interested in your story because I've had no one like you yet.
Well, I'm honored to be here. You know, we had a mutual connection in our good friend Brent, and I believe in life. You know, I'm a connection guy. I'm a relationship guy. I love connecting people. I love meeting new people, especially good people like yourself.
Oh, thank you.
You know, when we got to the opportunity to make this happen, I was pumped. So glad to be here.
Yeah, man. So I'm going to start out from the very beginning because I know, it's obvious by the size of the biceps over here that you're into weight training, but I'm going to start from the beginning. Like, where are you from and how did that seed start?
Well, actually, I grew up in Detroit, Michigan, Midwest boy, and started in athletics. I loved, my dad was an athlete, so it's kind of, you know, he was hoping his son would be the next, superstar, hockey player, football player, whatever. Yeah. Just because, obviously he loved sports. And so grew up playing sports, loved the competition component to sport, loved always, and then eventually we wanted to be that biggest, fastest, strongest guy. You know, always admired the top athletes. And so coming from an athletic background, that led me into, in high school, I remember getting that first day, and I remember seeing like the seniors walking in the weight room for football practice, because they were going to have weight training and then double sessions and all this stuff. And I seen these seniors. I'm like, these guys are huge. Yeah. I'm like, I want to be that size, you know? So that kind of, the bug for the iron really bit me then. And that was, that's kind of where it all started for me. I had a great football coach that was kind of like a mentor to me in life. You know, those couple things they say in life, like leave it all in the field and have no regrets. And like those kind of things just stick with you. And, so for me, starting there and always wanting to be like that biggest, fastest, strongest guy. And then by doing that, by default, you pick up a muscle magazine, Flex magazine, Muscle and Fitness. Those are kind of a lost, those are dinosaurs today because everything's social media and on the phone. But back in the day, you'd go to the store, buy a magazine, open it up and read about the newest workouts and nutrition. And so for me, it really started there. And then I got involved in attending some of the local bodybuilding shows because I was interested in that. And this
is at a young age, right?
Yeah,
you're still like in high school
15, 16.
15, 16, okay.
Really kind of getting the interest to that. But I had a very successful sports career coming up. Made all-state in football. I was a hockey player as well, won nationals. We ended up in like the Hockey Hall of Fame in this one tournament we ended up winning. So there was a lot of success there. And I definitely could have pursued that route. I felt like a couple guys I actually played with ended up going to the NHL, and I'd say I was, as good as them. Oh, okay. So it felt like, but my passion shifted really when I got in that weight room, and then that challenge of everything's on you. Like a team sport's great. You could depend on somebody, don't have such a good day. Something happens, there's players that kind of pick you up. But in bodybuilding, it's a 365, 24/7. And when it comes to, it's all on you, it's you versus you. And I really love that component of it. It was a different structure. It was more extreme level of discipline, extreme level of sacrifice. And obviously it is a sport of extremes, extreme size of muscle, extreme low body fat, like everything's pretty extreme in bodybuilding. So taking what the competitive component inside of me and then really applying that with a lot of discipline and not so, like, I don't need a lot of external motivation. I'm not a person that has to have a coach screaming at me to do what I'm told. Like if I'm told go do that, I'm going to go do it. And I'm going to give it 100%. So I had a lot of success early on in bodybuilding.
Yeah.
Obviously there's a lot of things like genetics that play a role in bodybuilding and even sports. Like, your average person just can't go, run a super fast 100-yard sprint or get, put pads on and go be successful in a sport. Like there's a genetic component, I believe, whether you're athletic or transfers to bodybuilding. So I had been blessed with good genetics and a little bit of an athletic gene. So that kind of carried over, like I said, to bodybuilding and having success at a young age, winning like teen nationals at 18 and 19. That kind of really set the foundation of like this guy could be something. There's a lot of potential there, but potential is only so good of what you do with it. Yeah. Again, so you hear a lot of people like, man, this kid's going to be really good, but in a year or two they burn out. Yeah, they're they change paths,
can't hold up
lose
the
motivation.
lifestyle.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So for me, I was again very disciplined, motivated, self-motivated, and so winning teen nationals, end up winning like a really large regional tournament or competition at 20 years old. I won the whole thing. So that really kind of catapulted me to be like, this is the guy you got to watch out for. And I remember at the time, there's again no social media. Everything was kind of forums and magazines back then, and you didn't have to post every day of what you're doing, and you'd really focus a lot of your energy with your training during this off period, and then when it was showtime, you'd show up, do photo shoots, do all the interviews, do everything you normally do, and that was kind of how it grew. The sport grew, but now it's just insane with how the availability to the celebrity or professional athletes, whether it's, football, baseball, or bodybuilding.
Well, let me stop you right there for 1 second. I think that I want to dive into a little bit of that beginning section. You said that, look, I went in there, I saw these guys, they were bigger than me. I wanted to be huge, right? Those are the things that you were looking at size at this point, or you were thinking strength was the thing that you wanted to be? Because if you think about football in general, a lot of the exercises that are put in are built on strength and moving somebody, not necessarily on size, but to jump into bodybuilding. I know those kind of sound like they go hand in hand, but from your perspective, they don't at all, right?
No, it's strength and size, definitely two different animals, and especially when it comes to training for that. But I was the guy that was strong and then put on muscle pretty easy. So again, that genetic component I mentioned played a role. Like I was able to lift really heavy, especially for my size. I wasn't what I am right now. I was probably a freshman, maybe 170, 180. So I was still a good sized kid, but not by any means like a monster. I was a 250-pound kid coming in and, benching 225 or 300 pounds as a freshman. That wasn't the case. But I was able to really push myself and really realize I had ability to, when you go in there, you see yourself pump up a little bit, you see your tricep pop. And my coach always said, there's Kuclo doing some tricep pushdowns for the girls Friday night. I was always in the weight room. I just loved it. But that really kind of helped me. I realized that had the ability to put on muscle. So that was like, well, I like that. You get that little bit of, you kind of like seeing your shirts a little tight around the arms, you see your legs pop a little bit, but that did transfer. I was able to get stronger as well. So when I was on the field, I was able to, I felt like I was stronger than the guy in front of me. I felt like I could move guys and realize that I'm a pretty strong kid. So that was their advantage. That was my advantage on the field. So that combined definitely led me down I love doing this and I get results, and it doesn't come easy, but I work hard and you see the results. And I think that's some great motivation right there. Yeah. I tell a lot of my clients that I work with, the best motivation you're going to see is the results. Yeah. You can listen to every podcast and every song you want to listen to get you fired up, but that fades off real fast. But when you start seeing, those abs come in, the biceps get bigger, whatever it is, kind of whatever goal you're trying to reach, that's when you start really getting motivated. So, with that, taking that bug of getting in the weight room and seeing those guys and getting motivated, that's really kind of, like I said, that was where it started for me. Absolutely.
Yeah. And so did you set most of the records in your high school for weightlifting?
I don't know if there was really, because again, that was almost a new, like it was late 90s, early 2000s. And there was kind of benchmarks that you shot for, but it wasn't as kind of competitive like it is nowadays. Yeah. Like, we knew there was like those combine, records and stuff like that. And so you try to lift, kind of aspire to do certain things like that, but you didn't hear as much about like the freshman or the high school kid that's, the squat record is 500 pounds. Like we didn't know that. We just, I remember you could put 2 plates on the bar in high school. You're pretty damn strong. Yeah. So definitely not like it is today, but it still had a love for it.
My kid went to Caddo Mills High School, which is, close to here. And I just remember going into like every beginning of every year, they have like a workout session where everybody comes as a town and these kids get in there and they start throwing up reps and they're trying to break their own, PRs, their own personal records. And then there's always, this one kid that's battling for the school record at certain things. And so everybody will jump around them and they're getting crazy with it. So that's what made me think like, people writing down, what old Steve was chunking up in the weight room. Is anybody able to beat you? Were you dominating or was
I was again one of the stronger guys, and it's funny because I remember seeing that weight room and be like, this is like state of the art. This is and today I bet you if I went back there I'd be like, this is a little dungeon. This thing has nothing in it, know. But again, perspective, just how health, fitness, performance has just grown so much, like you said. And the one thing I was always conscious of was like not trying to over ego lift. Like that's the problem, especially see with a lot of high school kids. Like you said, they're in there screaming, yelling. And I mean, these guys look like their backs are going to break trying to squat. And that's not always the best thing. Like knowing you're strong is one thing, moving a lot of weight's one thing, but just to try to kind of ego lift or show off in a way, or just try to set a record without doing it right, you really risk hurting yourself long term, just to, I mean, at the end of the day, what's that prove? I mean, one of the things that was told to me at a young age in bodybuilding, which was true because I was, again, one of the stronger guys, and I'd do some really impressive lifts at a young age. I mean, I had some really early videos on YouTube, probably from early 2000s, of me at about 18 or 19 front squatting 500 pounds for reps, and which is pretty good when you think of front squats. Not a fun movement, but if I had done that, not doing it in proper form, like I absolutely could have really hurt myself long term. And then one of the things that was always told to me was, no judge is going to ask you how much you lift or how much you bench or how much you curl. Like, as I'm like, that's true. I mean, on the field, it's great that somebody can squat 700 pounds as a football player, but does that always translate to doing your job better?
Right. That's funny because that's what I was kind of getting at, was like, there's, three veins really for this. There's performance of doing something on the field. There's powerlifting. There's a number, that I'm throwing up. And then there's the judge of someone saying, you look like you're in peak performance for someone who's doing something. For someone on the outside, do those muscle fibers look completely different from each other? Or are they like, I've heard there's like white and pink muscle fibers on the inside of your arm. And like for speed, you're supposed to go after the white ones, or maybe I'm getting it backwards or whatever. Can you elaborate on that a little bit?
Yeah. I mean, so if we're talking about like performance and because like I said, strength and speed performance or strength and muscle size, two different things. Like if I'm going to train for strength, it's going to be very different than hypertrophy training, which is, hey, I want to get bigger arms, doing 1 or 2 reps on squats. And there's somebody that can squat, say 1,000 pounds with, they'll have big legs, but may not be the most muscular shapely looking legs that look like my legs look like they could squat 1,000 pounds, but probably not going to be able to squat 1,000 pounds. Maybe earlier in my day, but now at my age, like I'd probably hurt something that I don't want to do. But, for me, the same guy that trains for strength 1 or 2 reps probably can't do my workout, the amount of volume. When I say volume, it's like the amount of reps, sets I do, the amount of time, the pump. That's a totally different energy system in the way it's a little bit more power. Like they consider in the genetics world, it's considered more power training. I mean, like more, it's explosive, it's hit, it's high intensity, but it's also there's a volume component to try to push as much blood into the muscle and like try to make it grow. When you're talking about like sports performance, yes, there's a lot of like the different muscle fibers, fast twitch muscle fibers, slow twitch muscle fibers. People that have more fast twitch muscle fibers are more your sprinters, a lot of
wide receivers, cornerbacks,
guys that are just super explosive, super quick. And there's different types of, the X and A and B and different fibers like that. And there's the slow twitch, which is more like your endurance runners, guys that could go run marathons and feel like they don't look like they're breaking a sweat. These guys have ultra endurance. And I mean, that's a genetic component, especially when it comes to bodybuilding or sports. The people that, again, you could just probably take the muscle fiber, if you were like to dissect of certain positions of guys that have made it to the elite levels, they probably have the perfect genetic like blueprint for, you're talking about blueprint, for that position or for that sport. And that's where you really get the elite of the elite. Now you could train for sports and you could train to become really good at something, but I think what separates the the great from the good, and then the good from the just average Joe is going to be genetics.
Yeah. I think the thing that really spurred this on, I don't look at now, but I used to be into weightlifting, and now I'm into eating and drinking and living life, I think. But I saw this picture the other day, and it showed like an endurance sprinter.
Yeah.
Several miles, 20 miles, 30 miles. And then it showed a 1 mile runner. And then it showed a 40-yard sprinter or a 100-meter dash type of guy. Their body types were massively different.
Yeah.
They were all top of the world in their position, but their body types were different. And then it showed like a cross section of their body, and it showed their muscle fibers. And it said these types of fibers are elastic and they're meant to do whatever. And these are explosive.
Yep.
And it just showed like the explosive ones were like, and the endurance ones were just like long and thin. And so these guys looked like they had no muscle or athletic ability whatsoever to them looking at them, but they were just endurance runners, and that's how their body was built, and they were top of the world at what they were doing, right? Yeah. So that's just what made me think of that, and to start to think like you came into this with two different perspectives. One is, if the pump, and then there's the strength. And so when you got into doing both at the same time, those exercises, just because you were young at it, and like you said, you were winning at a teenager level, did you ever have to say like, I got to quit working out for football and I got to start working out for size?
Eventually, I think when I got out of high school, that's where I really started going like all in on bodybuilding, because it was, I kind of probably pursued at a higher level, either football or hockey were my two sports I love playing. But at the same time, I was like, my passion, what was really in me, and I remember it killed my dad the day I told him, like, man, I think I'm done playing hockey and I want to do this bodybuilding. He had no idea. My dad's I don't think he spent more than an hour in his whole life in a weight room kind of thing, So that was something completely foreign to him when I told him that. But now, like, fast forward 20 years plus, he could say, hey, you had a great career. You really did something, and you took this to the highest levels. But going back, like that transition to saying, hey, I want to go all in on bodybuilding, because I felt like that's what I really had a fire and desire inside my heart for. I felt like this was something I was built for. And I had a lot of people telling me that too. I think you have the right people around you, coaches, people that have experience in the areas. Like I could look at somebody that comes to me like, I want to bodybuild. I could just look at their genetics or see them one time in the gym, like they got it, they can go really far. Or no, it's you do it as a hobby, do one or two shows, have some fun with it, be fit, that kind of stuff, live the lifestyle, but don't put all your eggs in that basket, because it's going to run dry real fast. Like, you're going to go hungry.
How do people take that?
I usually like to hit them with a velvet brick. I say, with it, like you try to be nice, and I encourage people a lot. And I usually, I'll cut somebody straight. Like I don't want to try to just drag somebody on just to either like take their money or just say, yeah, you can do really good at this, when I know they're not. Like I'm going to be real with them. I'd be like, this, if you want to do it as a goal, like, hey, to check off a bucket list thing or once in your life, absolutely. I think it's a great thing for you. You learn a lot about yourself. You learn a lot about what you're capable of, taking your body to limits that most people can't, and all this stuff. But at the same time, I'm like, if you want to make a career out of this, I don't know if you necessarily have the genetics to go that far, And then some people say, well, I'll do whatever it takes. I'll take all the drugs in the world. And I was like, well, it's not about all the drugs in the world. You just don't have the genetics for it.
Yeah. That's hard. I mean, you got to think too, because, part of the mentality of strength and fitness is like, I'll persevere. I will do this I will go the distance when no one else will go the distance. Right. And that mentality is counteractive to that answer that you give people. You're just telling them from the rip, like, it ain't you, and they have to, for the guy that says, you don't know me, you don't know my personality, you don't know how hard I push, you don't know who I am. Then you have to follow up with, well, bless your heart. But
because bodybuilding is at the highest levels. We're talking highest levels, Mr. Olympia, Arnold Classic, like to be the top in the game, to be considered one of the guys that can go to even win a pro show. Like turn pro is one thing, and there's some amazing guys that will never even place top 10 but if you saw them in the gym by themselves, you'd be like, this guy's the most incredible physique I've ever seen, but they've never even placed top 10 in a pro bodybuilding show.
Yeah.
But you take the elites, you take what somebody that has great genetics, works hard, checks every box with nutrition, training, supplements, etc. That will create, an ultimate elite level pro bodybuilder.
You just have to have both. And
you have to have both because you can. And again, it's like watching the Olympics and you see somebody run and you see like, oh, I can do that, or I could jump like that guy can jump. And then if you really got on the field or on the track or whatever it is and try to emulate what they did, you'd realize that those people are so elite at what they do, the way they swim, the way they, whatever it is. Like, it's incredible what these athletes are able to do because it's really what they've trained for, but their bodies are truly built for. I mean, you could look at somebody that's on the Olympia stage and it's hard to find a flaw. Because it's so balanced, it's so conditioned, it looks like an anatomy chart. And then you took your average person or average bodybuilder, if somebody that won even like a state level show that looks really good, and you compare apples to apples, you'd be like, oh, clear as day what that is. And that's the thing I always tell people, like, I'm not always the most impressive in pictures when people saw me. Like, some guys look crazy in pictures 2 weeks out of a show, and then I would, post a picture or something and be like, oh, he's not ready. He's not going to do good. And then I'd get next to somebody because of my structure and size. I was always one of the bigger guys. I would dominate because of my overall, like, just appearance on stage. Like I was very wide, very symmetrical, didn't have a lot of weak points. So that's kind of where that was my strong assets in the sport for sure.
So what's up with the like super, super dark tanning stuff? Like, like I just noticed, like, over the years, this thing has gone from like tanning oil, like you went and got a tan on the weekend, to, man, it's almost like dark black charcoal. You know what I mean? Like, what's up?
It was, kind of going back, telling some of the story. I remember the first time that I had to get on stage, they used to have it to where you get this little, like, it was Pro Tan. It's been the brand that's been around forever. And it's a tanning dye, and it's obviously evolved over the years how much it's gotten better and how quick it applies. Back in the day, they'd give you a bottle and like a little paintbrush, and you'd have to sit and, like, it'd take you hours and this stuff, and you have to do it for days.
Wow.
Just sit and paint, and it's got to develop, and you can't touch anything, and you just feel like a basted turkey sitting in front of a fan. You're like, this is terrible. But nowadays it's like the night before, you get sprayed once or twice, and boom, you're like where you have to be. But
so it's like a spray tan for a girl.
It's a spray tan, but you have to be so dark because of the lights. Like, if I went out there super shredded but with no tan, it would be so, like, blurred out because of the stage lighting so bright. So it's literally for the lighting component to be able to see the definition in the body. It's the downside to it. It does take away from some of the true definition and like crispness of the body. Certain body types or ethnicities, like I think white guys, because even black dudes have to tan. So it's not like you have a full advantage, but you don't have to tan as much as a black dude. So. Super white dude like myself, where you got to, put on 5 layers of tan, that does add up in your skin. It creates a little bit of a film, and it takes away from that, like, super sharp look that you see maybe a couple days before you would get on stage. So, and lights have changed. They've gotten brighter, LEDs, all that kind of stuff has created a different lighting environment. So you have to kind of accommodate with it when it comes to tan and make sure it looks really good, because you're trying to present something. It's not like hey, I'm going to run A to B, or it's going to be a lifting competition where it's very objective. It's a subjective sport. So you're going on, I have to present something that looks really good and appealing to the judges.
Yeah.
And it's got to translate everything that I have in order to eventually win.
Do you ever look at somebody on stage and lean over and go, like, or not tell them, but you're just thinking they went too dark?
There's been a couple times where you can go too dark, and it can hide some stuff.
Right.
Absolutely. And there's some guys that are super black, like some guys, I mean, they are jet black, just their skin on top of, like, tanning a little bit. And it just, you do lose a little bit of that definition from going too dark. So again, with anything, it's kind of like a U curve. Sometimes too much of a good thing's not good. Too much of a bad thing's not good. So you got to find the middle sweet spot for you.
Yeah. Because I think, from a photography perspective or a lighting perspective in a room, or, as we're doing, commercials or whatever, right? So I think about something being overexposed.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
And we think about, like, if it's too white, it's too blown out. And so people they can't catch the detail. But it's also the same when it comes to too much shadow.
Yeah.
Right. And so you have to catch just the right amount of that. And so that's kind of what I was thinking about when I went that direction. But it just seemed like, man, the more I've been watching some of that stuff, like I'm not even into bodybuilding, but it comes up sometimes on whatever. And it's like, that's really, really dark. And I'm wondering like, you know, as it starts to cast off, but everything swings like a pendulum, right? It's going to come back.
Yeah, no, for sure. It's funny. Somebody came up to me the other day in the gym and they're like, I saw you. I think I started following you online, but you were really dark in your profile picture. And I was like, that was spray tan. I was like, there's a reason why, you know, that was one of my show pictures that I have as a profile. But, you know, obviously you see me now.
That's not it.
It's not it.
That's not it. So anyway, so you went in through high school. You won your first competition in high school?
Just out of high school into college, I won my first competition, won it as teen and placed like third in the men's.
Okay.
So, you know, there's a 19-year-old or 18-year-old kid competing against men and, you know, natural, everything and doing really well. And that's when I kind of felt like I might have something, you know, the confidence builds up a little bit. But, you know, at the same time, other people were telling me that too. So it wasn't just like, I'm not trying to blow my own horn here and figure like, I'm the shit, you know, this is, I got, you know, I got something. Like people are like, dude, you're really good. You pursue this. So get myself tied in with the right coach, the right gym, all that kind of stuff started happening. And then when that did, it's like my body really started transforming even more and more and more. Because I really like bodybuilding and fitness and health. It's an evolving, like it's a school you got to put yourself through for life. Like it's a life. Fitness in general is a lifestyle, but it has to be done for a lifetime, I believe. And you have to continually learn what is good for your body. In today's day and age, I mean, if the technology was around today, what it was or what is available today 20 years ago, the way you can do blood work and the way you can do genetic testing and the way all these different tests and really dial in the body, I think I could have even taken it to another level. But, you know, doing the best of what you can and the resources you have back then, you know, I don't come from a super affluent family or anything, you know, and just making do with what you can, you know, really just boils down to just some hard work ethic and understanding nutrition enough that I was feeding my body and training hard and doing all the right things and checking all the boxes. But like I think that can be a limiting component to some people is resources in this. So
coming out of high school, you've won your first competition. What kind of hours really go into developing a physique that looks the way you want it to look? Like, is this 7 days a week, twice a day? Like what's in on this? What's meal prep like? Like what goes into this?
It turned into, it's funny because it definitely was like kind of my job initially. Like I worked some part-time security jobs out of high school and working to kind of support and live with the family and going to school. I was going to school to be a firefighter, initially engineering, automotive engineering, and then it switched to firefighting. So that's kind of how that firefighting career path happened because of that. It was dual purpose. I loved learning about the body, loved the paramedic component, but then also I'm like, it's a great schedule. 1 day on, 2 days off. I could still do bodybuilding and still have, you know, be able to pay bills and take care of things. So, so kind of working with it all and making it all happen for me was kind of how I felt. And I just lost my train of thought. Where you
schedule, like how many hours is it taking? What are we doing here?
The schedule. So the schedule for me, initially it was like, man, you got to train 3 hours a day. Okay. And I was like that guy that felt like I got to live in the gym. First training partner said, man, you train too much. And I was like, what do you mean? It's like, you got to train to get big. Yeah. He's like, no, he's like, there's a point, diminishing returns. He's like, if you do too much, your body's not going to be able to recover and grow. And then when I learned this, when I started understanding this, like, and I tell a lot of people this, it's not about doing more is not always better. It's finding, again, what works for you, finding the sweet spot. So I would probably train 5-6 days a week, and I'd always give myself at least one rest day. But I would, you know, off season was different from pre-contest training. Pre-contest training is much more detailed, in depth, and a lot more time consuming. So I had at least probably between about 1.5 to 2 hours a day were dedicated to time in the gym. That'd be like getting there, warming up, stretching, training for like an hour, maybe a little bit of cardio. And then the other time was really like meal prepping. Like you said, it was a full-time job eating when you got to eat 6-7 times a day.
Wow.
And that's not done just like for a certain period of time. That's done every single day.
Wow.
Because you're trying to feed and you're trying to push your genetic blueprint higher and past what it's coded to do. You got to push it to the extreme.
Yeah.
So for me, it was making sure that I did all that, but and I did. So it, with about that time frame, I mean, it's probably 6 hours a day. You know, if you take 15 to 20 to 30 minutes to eat a meal or prep food and do all this stuff, and times 6 to 7 meals a day, and then training, and I mean, it's almost a full-time job right there. And then you have to make sure you're sleeping, doing all your, sleeping enough, making sure you're, hydrating. Just there's a lot that goes into it. Absolutely.
I can hear the fire chief right now. I've been like, you're taking your 5th lunch today. That's 30 minutes a piece. Like, what's happening right now?
I always brought my food, but being at the fire station, because firefighters love to have, gravies and biscuits in the morning, and eggs, and good old, sometimes fried chicken for dinner and all that kind of. Didn't always
food that people like me eat.
Didn't always fit the bodybuilding macros.
Yeah,
so
sure.
For me, it was making sure I always brought my food with me. I was always prepared. Like, that's one of the biggest components to being healthy is preparing, having food prepared, taking my meals with me everywhere I went. I was to an extreme at one point, I remember, and I've learned balance in life. Like, I don't do this anymore, but I remember going to like an Ozfest concert with some friends, and my like 19 years old, and I had stuffed my pockets with chicken breast in like little Ziploc baggies. And
That's awesome.
That's one I haven't talked about on a podcast before, but yep.
You're just like, man, I need my protein. I'm going to be gone for a while.
Like, if I'm out there, and just drinking water and rocking out and headbanging, I got to make sure I get my protein in.
I can see you over there just like really into it like this with a chicken breast and a water on the other side, just like, no one's messing with you at all. They just see this extreme guy. Like,
what's this guy doing?
Where do you get the chicken breast, guys?
Right?
That's amazing. And so you got into doing this, spending this time doing that, sleeping, working, meal prep, working out. You said sleeping. You say you got to get enough of sleep. It's like, is 8 hours not enough? Is it got to be more than 8 hours? Like, what are we talking about
working,
here?
Then when I got hired in the fire department, especially working in the city of Dallas, like when I got hired at 20, I moved to Dallas. I was 21, moved down to Dallas. So I've been here about 20 years, all my adult life. And the firefighting was, and I did it for about 10 years. I worked for the city of Dallas. But, when you're working 24-hour shift work, and then you're at work for a city like Dallas, you're getting your ass kicked. Like, you're up more than likely all night long. Yeah. And the areas, they put the young guys in, like I was in Pleasant Grove for the first 5 years of my career.
Shout out PG.
Yeah, that's right. So, you're running down there, Bulk Springs, you're making calls in, and you're getting it, and you're making 20, 24 calls in 24 hours kind of thing. Like, there's you barely get time to eat. You definitely get time to sleep. So, that component suffered a bit early in my career because of my work schedule on top of, trying to compete and stuff at a high level. But sleep for me now is ultra important. And, I do shoot for that at least 7, try to get 8 hours when I can, and if on the weekends I get an opportunity to sleep a little longer, I try to catch up a little bit, but sleep is definitely one of the most underrated components to health, especially, and it's super important in bodybuilding, because that's when your body recovers, when it grows. Like, the common mistake that people think is, when I train, I'm going to get big. I'm going to go in the gym and I'm going to get big. Like, what really happens is you're breaking your body down. When you rest, recover, feed your body, that's when you kind of repair, grow, and that's when you get bigger. Obviously, it's done over time. It's compound interest. It's not a one-time workout, get huge kind of thing. If that was the case, everybody would be walking around like silverback gorillas,
Yeah.
But it's, you're talking small increments each time,
Yeah. When you go in and you work out, that it's not the next day that hurts. It's like the day after the next day. What's that about? Like, I know there's lactic acid that builds up and stuff in there, but like, it seems like, if I'm tearing myself down, is my body not repairing itself at night? Is that not what, am I not getting enough sleep? Is that what causes me to be more sore, or what?
It does. So I'll kind of explain that twofold. It's called DOMS, delayed onset muscle soreness, that happens. And typically for somebody that is a natural athlete, we'll say it usually happens that 24 to 48 hours after, where you like, man, I felt great the next day. And then the next day after that, I felt like I hit by a truck.
Yeah.
And that's, I see that all the time with guys that come in and have a crazy workout or want to work out with me and try to like push themselves past what they normally do.
Yeah.
You know, I'll turn it up and I'll push them like, all right, you want to train with me? Well, I'm going to push you probably where you didn't go before. And usually 2-3 days after, they're calling me like, I hate my life. This was a terrible idea. Yeah. But for enhanced athletes, that's really what separates like enhanced athletes versus non-enhanced athletes, is the ability to recover. Yeah, you're a little bit stronger and you have kind of the androgenic anabolic edge with some things, but it's a recovery component that really separates, because you're able to do more in a short amount of time. Meaning like you could train maybe legs twice a week instead of once a week because your recovery is better. So you have the opportunity to grow and improve that. And that's in essence probably the biggest game changer or differentiator when it comes to an enhanced athlete versus not. So the soreness, it doesn't always indicate an effective workout. No, I mean I could do like crazy chest workout week one, same one next week, and eventually I kind of get used to it. I'm not going to get that sore. I can go do a half-ass workout at another gym, different equipment, different angles, and get super sore and be like, what the heck? So it's sometimes different stimulus. Sometimes it's the way the machines hit angles. You know, there's a lot of different things. But being sore doesn't always mean if you don't get sore, it doesn't mean you didn't have an effective workout. So don't think that soreness is an indicator of effectiveness.
That's funny, because all my coaches in the day would slap me on the back and say, "It means you did something." Yeah, that means you did something.
I mean, for sure, that's like a battle scar. Like, man, I definitely went to war, but that doesn't necessarily mean that your workout you had isn't going to be effective at achieving the results that you're trying to go
so
for.
Being sore doesn't mean growth, because I was always told that means you tore your fibers down.
Oh, absolutely.
Really good.
But it's more on the acid component, like the lactic acid, a lot of the byproducts of training and the stimulus that you put in it. That's really what's causing a lot of that soreness. But your body's amazing. What's amazing about the human body is like it adapts very quickly. Like it has the ability, if you did the same workout 3 or 4 weeks in a row, by the 4th week, you'd probably be like, I didn't even get sore from that. But the first week I could barely move my chest for 3 days. Same thing, like your body adapts really quickly. It's like the same with like running. You know, you first time you go try to run a mile, you're like, this is terrible. But a week or two later, you're like, man, I'm cranking. This is no problem. You know, your body's ability to adapt the cells, the mitochondria, the way your energy systems work. It's amazing. But you also lose it pretty quick too. So you always hear a lot about muscle memory and stuff like that. When, you know, you could take a week or two off training, being consistent training, and come back and be like, man, I felt like I never worked out a day in my life. Like, what is this about? So there's that component to it too. But soreness, again, don't always think I have to get sore every workout.
Yeah, that's kind of been the deal. When it comes to that soreness and it starts to go away, like throughout my history, I hate to even I'm using what I got, guys. I'm not a bodybuilder. I'm using what I got. Throughout my history, we've always said, let's rotate the workouts, right? So you find out, you continue to work out, you get up, you don't have that soreness anymore. You feel like you can power through that one, and you don't have the same like exhaustion level. Like there's things that go into that make you feel like you've had progress. Should you rotate your exercises to continue to do that, to build, like you said, it's a different angle or it's a different machine or whatever, because you're tearing up a different part of the body that is, you know, not receiving the same, because you're doing the same action every time on repeat. So your body is getting used to that. How often should I rotate these exercises? Should I just listen to my body, or should I stay on a regimen?
It's probably a multi-point answer on this. First, definitely I like to rotate. For most of my clients, I rotate their program about every 4 weeks. That usually will kind of stagnate or hit a plateau, or like, you know, I'm not getting any stronger, or my lifts aren't going up. And that's kind of a good benchmark to see, you know, have you added any weight to that workout or those exercises? And if you've stopped or haven't really hit that point where you're not getting stronger, then it's probably time to switch. Or you feel like you're not gaining any more reps. Like if I'm saying, hey, shoot for 10 reps, and you start failing at 9 to 10, and then over the next few weeks, you start adding 11 reps, 12 reps, like you're getting stronger, the program's still working. So then it's after that point where you feel like you're hitting that ceiling, it's time to change it up for sure. The other one, like if somebody's having fun with it, if they're like, man, I just love this training program, then I'm going to let you roll with it.
Yeah.
Like you got to have fun with fitness and don't look at it so much like a job, but something you enjoy doing.
Mm-hmm.
And whether it's like, that's why I really don't hate on people that want to do CrossFit or Pilates or yoga or whatever, run 100 miles, whatever it is. Like if that's your game, if that's your thing, like rock and roll, do it. Like that's what's going to keep you moving and active and healthy, then do it. Everybody doesn't have to be a bodybuilder, but bodybuilding is more that the transformative. It's kind of the Instagram sport nowadays. Like it's gotten so popular with, it's a little bit vain in some ways, not always the healthiest and stuff like that. But again, it's like having fun with it and understanding that, you gotta, changing things is good, but if again, there's the parameters I like to go by for clients is like, if you're getting stronger or if you hit that no more reps or not going up in weight, et cetera, then it's time to change. But I usually, like I said, every 4 weeks is typically what I about train or change a training program.
That's really cool. I've never heard another, I wouldn't say demographic, but I've never heard another sect say CrossFit's great or running is great or bodybuilding's great, or these different types of training are great. I just want you to be moving and be healthy. Everyone wants to crap on the other one. Every person I talk to is like, oh, that one sucks because you're going to blow your knee out or you're going to tear your shoulders up. That's stupid. You shouldn't be, jumping up a mountain or whatever, right? It's like, but I love the fact that what you just said right there is like, man, just be healthy and get yourself together and focus on like enjoying this thing while you're going through it. And if you're moving, you're doing great, right?
Yeah. No, absolutely. There's pros and cons to everything. Pros and cons to bodybuilding. Bodybuilding's pro and con. I mean, you create such pros would be like you're so routine. You're eating very good. I always say like probably the healthiest you could be for the most part is probably that 12 to 6 week out of a show. Like you're just so routine and regimen with cardio, with training, with the way your food and hydration and everything is just on point. Like you have to be, everything is just exact and on point. But then, you start taking, as you go into a show and start really going hypocaloric and pushing yourself and likely overtraining and stress levels come up and, supplementation goes up and all that kind of stuff. So then it's not so healthy, but for the most part, like initially that's very healthy. I mean, running's a great exercise, but you run 100 miles, I'm sure that's going to beat the crap out of your joints over time doing that over and over again. CrossFit, again, very great functional training. You're doing a lot of good stuff, but a lot of times either bad form, a lot of injuries happen because you're just not doing things right, overtraining, all that kind of stuff could happen. Like bodybuilding's limiting factor would be like it's very one-dimensional typically. It's not very dynamic when it comes to movement. So a lot of guys get, again, muscle bound or they get very stiff or they, again, could obviously things like tear a muscle or stuff like that could happen, but it is a little bit unilateral with movement. It's not as dynamic like with other sports. So coming from athletics, I think that's what helped me stay injury free was I was very dynamic, but able to apply myself to like one plane with a lot of, bench press right here, straight, up and down. And I felt like that my body was strong all over. So I didn't suffer injuries because I felt like I was strong from many angles.
Have you felt more, I don't want to say restrictive, but have you felt less fluidity in your body with the way that you've changed it into what it is now?
For sure. Like I guess kind of when we talked about going from my athletic upbringing, I still carry that through my bodybuilding, but you take somebody that's in athletics at 200 pounds, but somebody that's 300 pounds, that's a lot more weight. Like take somebody that's 200 pounds, put a 100-pound plate in them, see how fast they run or move. Like it just changes.
Right. Yeah.
Like right now, I used to sit around 280, 285, kind of my off season and just hover there at a pretty good look. And I'm sitting about 20 pounds less right now. And I just from years of hard earned muscle, like I'm about 265. And if I have maybe my wife's meatballs and pasta one, I might hit 270 with extra carbs. But, what I'm trying to do is start get some of that mobility back. Like I kind of have some new goals I want to do in my health and fitness and even competitive side. Like I got a kind of a bucket list thing I want to do a boxing tournament at some point. So
that's cool.
Like it's to be able to kind of regain some of that mobility and train for it. It's fun and I'm enjoying it because again, it's a little different. It's new. Not that it's new, but it's been so long since I've done it. It's like, okay, like That's what that feels like. And that's why that's a little sore. But again, moving 265 pounds versus, say 200 pounds is different, for sure.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot more mass you got to move. A lot more energy is expended when I have to, if I'm punching a bag or something like that, like your body demands a lot more oxygen. There's a lot more lactic acid. There's so many like scientific things and physiological things that have to happen in order for that to occur. It's just, it's not as fluid. Absolutely.
Yeah. Even as you're training right now, are you finding yourself getting gassed as you're trying to do these new things?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Cause my training, when you're doing a set, it may be 30, 45, maybe 60 seconds, a long set. But, if I'm training for a 3-minute round or something with boxing, like that's a totally different, I got to tap into a different energy system where I'm more designed. I've been trained myself for years and years and years to train for 15 seconds, 30 seconds, balls out. And then I got 2 minutes rest or, between sets. But it's, so trying to tap into that different energy system and that cardiovascular training at another level. So it's fun. It's hard. Absolutely. But I kind of have this idea of like, I want to be that big freaky looking dude, but also that's super athletic and can do some gnarly shit. Almost like that seemed like a movie. Like you see in the movies when a lot of that's very unrealistic what happens in the movies, but I want to look like that cartoon almost.
Yeah, it's crazy. When you go to do workouts, you said 15 seconds, 45 seconds, and then rest for 2 minutes or whatever.
Yeah.
There was also another platform that came out that was like, to speed your workouts up and to get more out of your body, do cross workouts, right? So go do, pull-ups on one, push-ups, and then go do, triceps, and then just kind of
go
rotate
do 2 minutes of cardio between your sets kind of thing.
And just keep rotating out and do. So that's what I've always done for the last whatever is just like go do 10 reps of that, go hit the next one, go to 10 reps of that, go to the next one, hit 10 reps of that. And that way you don't have that downtime, that 2 minutes. For people who are trying to condense an hour and a half, everyday workout people don't have what you have to go work out. They need to condense that into a 30, 45 minute deal. So to get more body groups, working out, that's what was kind of a movement. Do you believe in that? Is that a good thing?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay.
Again, I'm all about like at least being active. Like number one checklist, like be active, move, get your steps every day. Like, now that I'm more in like the high performance coaching, longevity, anti-aging, that space, like I understand like, bodybuilding gets you a little bit fixed on again, one dimension. Like you got to do this, like, pick big, heavy stuff up and eat a lot of food. Like that's really the mentality of most bodybuilders. But me understanding like health, wellness, and trying to create healthier people, if I know, and time's such a limiting factor for people when it comes to, that's the number one thing I always say, I don't have time. Yeah. We all have time. It's just like, what are you going to put your intention or what are you going to prioritize for your schedule? I always say, if you can't make time for it, put in your schedule. Yeah. And then you're going to do it. Like you're going to make time for that phone call, or you probably got 30 minutes at night, you're sitting watching TV. Like you could shift that time a little bit into, some personal health. And workouts don't have to be an hour and a half. Yeah. You can get very effective workouts done in 20 to 30 minutes. Yeah. Limited time between sets. Put your phone down. Don't be sitting scrolling on, the Instagram or Twitter or whatever between sets. Really focusing on being intentional with your time in the gym. And if you got to do supersets, if you want to do like these circuit type training things, that's absolutely great. Now, is it going to be best for like, say if you're wanting to be in a bodybuilding stage and be, this big, have the biggest arms you can get or whatever your goal may be, maybe not the best, but are you going to be healthy, fit, and going to, get in better shape? Absolutely. So I green light to that. Okay.
Very cool. Well, I've been doing it. Okay, I guess I'll take the pass and ride with that one. So you went through, you won your first couple, 18, 19. What was the next step in getting to the belt over here?
Well, I had, you kind of have to work your way up. You win some amateur shows and you go to the national level. And when I was coming up, it was great because, again, pre-social media days, so all the online and magazine publications would come out and film you before competitions for weeks. Like I had cameras with me almost every day in the gym and they were, Steve Kuclo, trail to the Mr. USA and all this stuff. And there was like 3 shows that you could potentially win your pro card. And I was one of the guys that were always, gunning for it, one of the young guns. And I ended up winning at 25. I won the Mr. USA. That was like the title I really wanted. And at the time, they only gave out about 4 or 5 pro cards a year for the men's bodybuilding. So it's very kind of prestigious, very limited. And I won it at a very young age at that time, at 25. So most of the guys win it in their 30s.
If you win it, you win it forever?
that qualifies you. Like, man, you're Mr. USA, and that takes you to become a pro. And then from there, it's like, well, I just got over that first mountain. Now we got to go climb that next mountain, because that's the real big one, you know. But getting over that first mountain is and was a huge accomplishment, and I think one of my favorite shows and victories to this day, winning that title, because I mean, it's you really go all in. I mean, these guys are pouring their heart and soul into it. Not like every bodybuilder doesn't, but I think like winning that show for me, it was that really that was that one title that be like, all right, this is going to set me up to be like, all right. Because what's cool is before every year they run like a history of all the Mr. USAs, and they do a whole video of it. And, you know, in 2011, Steve Kuclo won it, and it shows like, you know, the show. And I just remember being on stage. I remember getting ready for it. And like it was yesterday, you know, it was one of those pivotal moments in my career. But that really set me up trajectory wise in the pros to be like one of the guys to look for, one of the guys that are, you know, this guy's got a lot of potential. Let's see what he does.
Yeah.
So from there, it definitely, won the USA, we got to become pro. And then what they do is the guy that wins that Mr. USA, his first show, what's his first show going to be? Because everybody's watching him. And then is he going to win his first show? Because is this hype really all about what they say it is?
Yeah.
So I ended up going to my first show, and I remember I did not win it, but I placed third. And but it was against some amazing guys. But I looked really good, and people like it wasn't a loss, but it wasn't a win kind of thing. Like I went and did what I was supposed to do. Yeah. And then because I went against a lot of like senior guys, and it was the New York Pro, and it's one of the biggest shows. I was like, all right, we're gonna jump into the deep end right out of the gate and try to make our name known that this is we're here to play. And ended up doing really well, like I said. And then the next show I went to was the Dallas Europa. That was here. I ended up winning that one, so that was cool. Kind of in front of my home crowd, family, friends were out there, and got to come out with the victory. So that was like the first one, which was one of those favorite shows that you do that you could say I won. And then from there, just stair stepped on down.
Did you, when you won the Mr. USA? Did you know you were going to win that? Did you feel good about it?
The year I won it, I felt like I was. I walked into there like I won. I was confident, like I was already the winner. Now I didn't have the confidence of like arrogance. It was a confidence like, man, I look really good, and this can be my show if I really show up and bring it. And so much could happen so quick in bodybuilding. Like you could see your body change from hour to hour, almost minute to minute at the end. It's crazy. Like you could see how food will react in your body. The way you could eat a white potato versus a sweet potato, and how much that food alone will change the way you look. The water content of a food, the potassium and sodium content of a protein. Like it's just crazy how much of a science it is right at the end at that elite level. Like when you're so dialed in, and you could see every physiological change that could happen. And what's cool about it, it's like that's where I think bodybuilding is almost light years ahead of science in some ways, because they call it bro science, and a lot of it is, but it's guys that you figured out a lot of stuff of what happens with the body that science really has never studied on such elite level people. Like in order for science to make a study, they have to just kind of get people we're going to test these 10 random people that decided to do this study. For bodybuilding, it's like you're taking guys with really amazing genetics and pushing themselves past genetic limits and resetting their genetic code almost because of what they were able to do with chemistry, with their work ethic and nutrition and all that kind of stuff. So
who was somebody that you saw as you're going through these, you were like, man, that guy is the one that I want to beat? Not emulate, but I want to be better than that guy.
Because bodybuilding's so individualized, I never truly felt like I want to beat that guy. I felt like I needed to beat myself. Okay. And kind of cliche as that sounds, or like, it's really, I'm not avoiding the answer by any means. Like
Arnold, he was coming for you. I tried to get it out, but
at the time, the guy that was the guy to beat was Phil Heath, was the Mr. Olympia, really, when I was most of the time that I was at the Olympia competing. And Phil's absolutely a specimen of genetics, like incredible genetics, incredible body shape, structure. Like he was just, he looks cartoonish, you know. So did I ever feel like initially I could beat him? But I remember toward the last couple of Olympias I felt that confidence was building, almost like where I was leading up to Mr. USA. those years, the first couple of years of the Olympia, I'm like, hey, I'm just kind of here. I was like, yeah, I made it here. I'm elite in the world, but I don't care where I place. Like, I'm just here. I'm happy I'm here. Yeah. But then you kind of get that, like, F that. Like, I'm here to win this thing. Like, I'm kicking my butt and I'm training for this. Like, I want to come out with a victory. So you do, but at the end of the day, it's like you got to continue to be better than yourself every time you step on that stage. You got to bring something new, something more exciting, something that they haven't seen before. So it's always that striving for like, I got to get better. I got to get better. You're never satisfied with where you're at. Like that's the one thing about bodybuilding. And I wish there was a little bit like toned down a little bit. Like it didn't have to be as loud when it comes to guys always wanting to go extreme. Like find that sweet spot and just hold it. But because everybody's like, oh, he's got to get bigger. He's got to get bigger. And I'm like, biggest I've ever competed at was almost a little over 290 pounds on stage. That's not like full fluffy off season. That was shredded, probably 4% body fat, like dialed in at over 290 pounds. Man. And that's such an extreme amount, but it's like, how much bigger, I'm sure I probably could have gone bigger or gotten bigger. If I push the chemistry side harder or but there's eventually it comes, you're limited by a couple things. Like you don't get to eat so much food. Like I'm already eating an obnoxious amount of food. I can't even digest as much food as I have to eat. Yeah. And then training, I train my ass off, but I can only train for, so much. And then it's that diminishing return. So
dude, and toilet paper rolls go up by the bundle. You're at Costco getting the toilet paper.
I'm like an executive gold platinum. I got even a level at Costco. They don't even know.
It's got like the high power flush on the toilet. It's like, man, this thing is, you got to get some backing on this bad boy. I'm eating 13 meals a day.
Oh my God.
Give me some help.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So, did you ever beat him in a competition?
No, I didn't. But, we probably competed 6-7 times together, I not disappointed in myself. I think that was kind of at his height and me coming up kind of thing. I think at my height, like I said, I was a top 6 Mr. Olympia, top 3 at the Arnold before. And that's like in the world, so, and it was in bodybuilding, there's a lot of subjective factors. Like I said, what did the judges like? Did they like my look over his look? I mean, you could take a random that liked my look over his look and I would have won. Yeah. So that's the one kind of downside of bodybuilding. It's subjective. So there's always, you can call it politics. You can call it favoritism. You can call it, whatever they want to call it. But it's at the end of the day, it's what they like. Yeah. The 7 that are in front of you judging you.
Yeah. I mean, that's a great outlook to have on it, honestly. Like it's, when it's out of your hands, it's out of your hands. You just work and grind as hard as you can all the way through, and you just
bring your best.
Bring your best. Put it out there and say, "This is me."
Yeah.
It can be deflating for a lot of people to make it that close, top 3, top 5 in the planet, and not be able to touch first place.
Yeah.
But keeping that perspective, what you said, like, man, think about that in the planet. There's a few people on this place.
Yeah.
And I was number 3 or number 5 in the whole thing.
Yeah.
You ever sit back and think like what an astronomical number that is?
A friend of mine always used to say, like, you're like 1 in like a billion when you think about it. And I was like, man, that is pretty true. Like that's a very extreme odd when you talk about like how at that elite level, what it is to be all the way up there and what I've taken my body to and showcased and achieved. Yeah. It's up there. Actually, I vividly remember in 2021, I did the Texas Pro show. It was a new show. It was going to be like, man, I'm the Texas boy. Like this is my show to come in to win. And there's a few guys coming that were really good coming off a couple wins. It was going to be my first show of the year. And I remember doing that show, and I mean, that's the one I showed up at 290 pounds. I was a monster at it, one of the big boys. Most guys, and I'm, like I said, one of the bigger, taller bodybuilders at like 6 foot-ish. Most guys compete probably 5'7", 5'8", at 250, which, but still, like, size-wise, there's much bigger structure, but you compact, like, say my amount of muscle down to 5'8", sometimes it looks more gnarly because it looks bigger, but it really isn't. But it looks, again, bodybuilding is very visual and can be deceiving. But I remember going into that show like and being like, man, I'm gonna dominate this show. Like I had this confidence, and this is it, because this is my hometown. Ain't nobody's coming here to take my trophy, And I remember the promoter calling me up. He's like, Steve, like, half our tickets so far, just people that are calling because they want to see you compete. You know, I was like, man, this is awesome. You're like, all right. So a little extra motivation. Go there, had a amazing battle with another competitor, Ian, kid out of Canada. And I mean, it was so close. I mean, they pretty much worked us to death. I remember they had us him and I battle it out for probably 30 minutes on that stage, like just back and forth posing. And if you've ever got on stage or understand if you ever pose in a mirror for like 10 seconds, you'd be like, man, that's hard. I'm out of breath. Those isometric holds, I mean, this conditioning, but you're super depleted, you're dehydrated, you're all the things up there battling it out. And I remember like just laying it all out there. And it was, I mean, I was exhausted after the judging portion.
Yeah.
And they was ultra close, and everybody's like, man, we don't know, because they kept switching us back and forth, because usually the guy in the middle is like the guy they want, and then they'd put me there, put Ian there, put me there, and it was just back and forth, because obviously judges are having a hard time with this call. Yeah. So they're trying to figure out what they want to do. And I ended up, that show, I ended up placing second. And I mean, people were like, half the audience was like in awe that happened. Yeah. The other half was ready to rip the judge's head off, and they were throwing, lettuce if they had it, and beer cans and whatever they could, because they were like, this is crazy, But at that show, if you were to ask me, do I feel like I got robbed? I do. Like, I feel like, damn, I should have won that show. Yeah. Like, I got screwed at that one.
You hate Ian now?
What's that?
You hate Ian's guts now?
No, he's a good dude.
Like, we still hate you, Ian, for that. I don't care what he says right now.
You're Canadian. It'll be in the 51st state before you know it.
Yeah. We'll be catching up with you here in a hot minute, buddy.
But I remember after that show, there was some disappointment that set in, because you felt so confident going into it. And I actually got a phone call from a very good friend of mine, and actually he's actually signed this belt here. Zach Wild, it may be a little faded, but Zach Wild's a dear friend of mine, lead singer of his band Black Label Society, was singer of Ozzy Osbourne, a huge bodybuilding fan. That's how we connected about 15 years ago. We talk almost every day, text or something, cool. And so he sent me, actually, I kind of put my phone away because people were blowing me up, and I got this voicemail from Zach. And he just literally told me, like, at the end of the day, it didn't matter if you won. Like, you won with the fans, because the fans knew you won. Yeah. And like you the way you have to kind of frame it and look at it, like just having that trophy didn't make you the winner that day. Yeah. And you're still getting paid. You're still getting the contracts. You're still having all the things, but don't let that derail you from the like trajectory and where you're going with things. And I was like, man, that is true, because you put it all like, I gotta have that trophy to feel like I won. Yeah. But I framed it differently to be like, you know what, that was a win. I looked amazing. I did everything I could, and I left it all on the field, or I left it on the stage at that point. So I can't walk away like it was a loss. I kind of reframed it and said, and not like I'm, taking, like, losing is great. I mean, that's not what I'm trying to say here. Sure. I'm just saying, like, when certain things are out of your control, but you do give it your all, and you could take out the positives of it, that's a win. Yeah.
No, that's great. You got to have people in your corner like that really kind of, help you level set when it comes to times of second guessing yourself or feeling great doubt or whatever. You got to have those people in your corner that are always like, hey man, like, still here for you. You're still killing it. Still proud of you. And it just kind of helps you, kind of catch your breath and get that bounce. Like, yeah, man, I do got this or whatever. And even at the top level of what you're talking about, like top 3, top 5 people in the world, and it's like, you can second guess yourself. So, it's pretty easy for, just the everyday person out there to kind of catch these, strays all the time from people, and it's like, even at the top, the feeling is the same, and so it's a thing in life that we all have to deal with. And so I appreciate you saying that. I mean, honestly, like the humble nature that you show is pretty incredible. After you took that step, what was next? How many more competitions did you have? Where were you pushing to? Were you thinking like, man, I got 10 more years of this? Or are you thinking like...
That was, 2021. And at that point I was 36, and peak bodybuilding years for most guys are probably mid 30s. And by the late 30s, 40, you're kind of at your peak. And then it kind of starts going down. Just from the amount of years training, the way the body responds, but there's muscle maturity where, like, you got, like I said, I'm 265 right now. I'll be 40 this year. And I don't overly train hard. My supplementation, my food is half of what it used to be. So it's like, this is muscle that I've earned, and it's kind of, it's not like I have to train to look like this. It's not like I have to eat a ton of food to look like this. I don't have to take a ton of drugs in order to look like this. You know, there's very minimal I have to do to maintain this.
Yeah.
So it's, for me, I knew but I knew the next chapter was coming soon. I knew I can't bodybuild forever. It's just like the athlete that's the top of his game. Like he can't hold that title on top of the mountain forever. So eventually there's going to be a time where you have to walk away, or know that you hang your hat up or utilize it for what is the next chapter. And it's not easy, because, you find a lot of your identity in Steve Kuclo, the pro bodybuilder, but that's not necessarily who I am. And people, when they get to meet me, they see that I'm more than just a bodybuilder that picks up things and looks a certain way. Like, I've always wanted to be a dynamic kind of person that could really blend into any room. That was just a little bit, had to wear bigger shirts than most people, but could go in a room full of politicians and talk politics, or go in a room full of people in business and talk business, or go in a room full of whatever it is, and feel like, I can carry a conversation and be educated and versed in that. So for me, it was like, what's going to be the next chapter? And it's scary. Anytime you close your end in a book, trying to get to that, write your next book or next chapter, it's freaking scary. Yeah. Like you said, a lot of doubt, a lot of fear. The enemy comes attacking, that's where faith really comes in. Like faith in God's been a big foundation in my life. And knowing, I feel like if you're on the right track, the enemy's going to attack you. If you're not, why is he going to bother you? Like, go ahead, you're going down the wrong path already. So for me, it was like, all right, I really, I've built a great reputation. I've built a great brand of myself, and a likeness. Like anybody that's ever meet me is like, hey, pretty cool dude. Like, obviously what you see sometimes on the outside can be intimidating, or you can be judged based on what you see. Yeah. And, but when people get to know me, talk to me, like, I was a really nice guy, and I'm like, hey, there's no reason, I'm the kind of guy that you treat me a certain way, or I'm going to give you a clean slate to, I'm going to treat you, like you're my best friend, and you never know who you're going to meet. Like I said, I'm a relationship guy, and I love meeting new people, connecting people. But for me, it's okay. Next chapter. What's next? Steve Kuclo 2.0. Yeah. And I'm like, I don't want to go down. I don't want to be the guy that's like, well, I retire and I go to shit. Like, to me, it's like, no, we want to, how do we continue this trajectory, if not go up? So, next chapter for me was looking at, that saying, like, those who can't coach, and I hate to say it like it's a bad thing, but it's like, hey, I've created a lot of wisdom and knowledge over the years, and I want to continue to grow that even more. That's where I was like, I understand the human body at levels that most people don't. Yeah. I've put myself through a lot of crazy things with body fat levels and transformations and muscle gain, muscle loss, all this kind of stuff, So and even from an emergency medicine side, being a paramedic and firefighter for 10 years, a lot of experience. So I was like, how do I take that experience and really transform or translate that into the next chapter? And that's where I kind of really had a revelation where I want to launch Upgraded Human. Okay. And it was like, I've seen a lot of people that were very...
And this is your new company you started. It's called Upgraded Human.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. And that's where I was like, I met so many people great in business, but man, they haven't went to the gym in 2 years, and they're severely overweight, and health's going to crap.
Hey, buddy.
And I get it. I get it. Because it'd be great at something. You got to go all in on it. Yeah. Man, something's going to suffer. Yeah. And then, or, people that have great fitness and great relationships at home, but you know what, their business sucks or whatever it is. Like, so I felt like there's areas in life that people could upgrade and create like an upgraded version of themselves, or when people that use that saying, like the best version of yourself, what's that mean? And that's where I was like, at the end of the day, everything always went back to fitness for most people. Like your health to me, your health's one of the most important and valuable things you could have in your life. Like an unhealthy you is probably the worst thing you can give somebody, but a healthy version of you is probably the best gift you can give somebody you love in your life. I mean, time and your health are two of the most valuable things. Like you ask Steve Jobs on his deathbed what he would want, all the money in the world or his health, he'd give it all up for his health, and I think that's where, when you truly help people understand, like you can make all the money in the world, but what good is it if you're unhealthy, or you can't enjoy it, or you can't go run around with your kids, or, enjoy trips because you can barely walk, or whatever it is. Like, let's really put a big focus on health and emphasis on health. and truly help people become the best version of themselves by being healthy. So that's where the wellness, upgraded human wellness, was launched, and because everybody was really coming to me for advice and tips and help, and that's when I partnered with my friend Timmy Foster, and we started launching this and really helping people transform, because it's one of those things, like in sports, having a victory is motivation. Hitting that PR is motivation. But in business, whatever business it is, like when you create a good product or you help somebody achieve their goal, man, that's motivation in business. You're like, we got something. This is great. Yeah. Like people are telling you you're doing great things. Thank you. Like I always said, as a firefighter, one of the best things that somebody could tell you was thank you. Yeah. Because it's a thankless job. Like people would, really curse at you, spit on you, puke on you, you name it. I've been done. It's been done to me. Yeah. But at the end of the day, when somebody be like, thank you, and sincerely thank you, like, man, that made it worth it. That made it worth risking my life, doing what I had to do. And for the wellness side now, it's like when somebody is either referring somebody or thanking us because they feel so much better, they regain their health. Like, man, that's I get those wins every day now because of it.
What are you focusing on the most? Like if someone comes to you and says, dude, I'm out of it, I need to get it back together. Like, what's the process? Like if I were to come to you and say this, you would look at me and go, Brandon, you need to stop eating tacos first off, But I mean, really, like,
I have a whole process. I love taking guys down, because the difference between what we do and what conventional medicine does is conventional medicine will look at you and they'll say, what are your symptoms? All right, we're just going to treat your symptoms. You got low energy, low libido, whatever. We're just going to put you on testosterone. Yeah. That's putting a Band-Aid on a gunshot wound. That doesn't always solve the problem, and more than likely is not going to solve the problem. There's a lot of other things going on, especially lifestyle, that you got to address. So we do is try to get to root causation of why you're feeling a certain way, why these symptoms are happening. Because then when you fix that root cause, you're not going to have that symptom anymore. You're getting rid of it without having to use the medication, without having to be, how is being addicted, or not addicted, but having to take a thyroid medication or a blood pressure medication or cholesterol medication the rest of your life? How is that healthy? That's not. Right. I believe that you can make the body healthy if you give it the right nutrition, the right vitamins, right supplements. And, some people may argue that supplements, aren't healthy or they're unnecessary, but they're supplement for a reason, because, most people can't get the perfect diet. So they're going to be lacking something. So you need to supplement it. But what we love to do is truly test, because if you're not testing, you're just guessing. And I don't think you should just guess with people's health. What
does that mean, testing?
Like blood work to start. Like first thing we usually like to do is blood work for people. Very comprehensive blood work. Not like, we're going to check your TSH, your blood, your hemoglobin and your TSH and maybe testosterone, and that's it. Like they'll test maybe 20 markers. You'll get a general picture, but you're not going to see the whole thing. You need to see the whole picture. Like we start with like about an 85 panel blood marker where we check all these different hormones, all the cholesterol, all the thyroid markers to really understand what's going on, inflammation markers. That way you could see, and that'll get you probably 95% of the way there as far as understanding what's going on in somebody's body. Now, blood work is literally just a picture of that period of time in the body. Now, there's certain markers that are like, okay, in order to achieve this number, it takes about 3 or 4 months to get an average, and that's what's going on. So, it's not like but there's certain things like, blood sugar changes several times a day, constantly changing, so if it's 81, 1 minute and then it's 100 an hour later because you ate something, like, again, those things change all the time. But the blood work gives you a really good picture of what's going on in this moment where we can make solid adjustments to whether it's rebalancing inflammation, rebalancing cholesterol, blood sugar issues, A1C issues. And there's so many things that can be done just naturally. And everybody thinks, well, I don't want to get on medications. And I'm like, no, our goal is to try to get you off medications, just try to get you, taking some supplements for this period of time that's going to help rebalance your body, get it healthy so you don't need to depend on this anymore. So we start with blood work. Then we can go into, if people have some gut-based issues, and most people have a lot of gut-based issues.
That they don't know about?
They know about, like,
Okay.
they're real bloated all the time. A lot of depression comes from gut-based issues. 95%, rough 95% of serotonin is created in the gut, not your brain.
Okay.
So if somebody's depressed, like, fix the gut, you're going to most likely fix the depression. So you're not going to need the antidepressant the rest of your life. Like, these are things that conventional medicine, well, just take this antidepressant. Like, well, that's not fixing the root problem of why this could be happening.
Right.
There's a lot of other factors, but in general, that's usually why. Like, there's extreme cases with everything. Like, okay, there's something crazy going on, some genetic disorder or something, but for the most part, it's a simple, like, when you understand it, it's like seeing the Matrix. You like for when you understand the way the body works and the way the testing can work, and it's like, all right, I could look at this person, I could see this, they're telling me their symptoms. Now seeing the blood work and seeing these numbers, I know, okay, this person's got real high levels of inflammation. We need to work on that. These people, we need to work on their nutrition. Nutrition's a big thing because, dietarily, we can fix their cholesterol. We can fix some of these things with just nutrition component. And then we can look at things like, all right, you know what? We need to improve some exercise. We need to add some exercise into this. We need to work on sleep. We need to work on stress management. We need to work on toxin removal. Like, it starts going down the list of things we need to do, but, getting the body to function properly, because I believe our bodies are made amazing. I think God did not accidentally create the way our body, the way it is. Yeah. All the processes, the detox processes, the processes of processing food and utilization of nutrition and energy production. I mean, our body's incredible. I mean, they're still figuring out and learning new things every day on the scientific level of the body. But, when you truly can kind of get somebody's body rebalanced and optimized, that's next level stuff.
When you say inflammation from somebody, I'm reading in my blood. You're reading in my blood that there's inflammation. Is that from an injury? Is that from, like, what is that? I don't understand that.
There's different kinds of inflammation. Inflammation happens when you work out. You create injury to your muscle. They get inflamed. They swell up. So that signals your body, hey, I got to go repair it, fix it. And it's kind of acute, short-term inflammation. Chronic inflammation, stuff like that causes rheumatoid arthritis type issues. Headaches. I mean, you look up inflammation side effects. I mean, it's the mile-long list of things that it can cause. There could be issues with diabetes, heart issues, high blood pressure, all kinds of stuff, cardiac issues. I mean, a lot of it stems from inflammation in the body. So chronic inflammation is what we try to address. And we do that. You have to look at what's causing it. A lot of times it's dietary. A lot of times people are just eating a lot of crap food. You hear it's real popular online. You hear a lot of people talk about seed oils being very inflammatory because the omega-6 content really is what you're looking at. It's not just because it's seed oil. What ends up happening is the omega-3 to omega-6 ratio in people's body gets way off. If you look at the average American, it's like 18 to 1. The ideal ratio is like 3 or 4 to 1, omega-3 to omega-6 ratio. So that's a test we can actually do, which is, I think, it's one of the coolest tests, one of the simplest tests you can do. It's a little at-home test, pop a blood spot on your finger, send the card into the lab, and you get the ratio. And then it's okay, this is what we need to do to address this inflammation. And once you get that 3 or 4 to 1 ratio, you're reducing your heart disease risk by like 70, 80, 90%.
Wow.
By just getting your omega-3 levels right in your body. So
is there a certain food that produces that omega? Like what's going on? What is that?
Fish. I mean, a lot of the thing, like olive oil is very high on omega-3, flax oil. If you're looking at, avocado, there's certain nuts like walnuts, macadamia nuts, very high in omega-3 ALAs. But fish is ultimately like where they get the best concentrated omega-3 with the EPA and DHA. Like salmon and you want to avoid not to overeat too much heavy metal fish like tuna. Sardines are really good. And
what does that mean, heavy metal fish? Is it an Aussie thing or what are we doing again? What does that mean?
Heavy metals are usually fish that eat other fish or are in environments that have a lot of heavy toxic load. Are they floating around in seas that have a lot of waste in it, stuff like that? Byproducts of humans. That they're kind of becomes what ends up happening is obviously they're filtering this water and it's becoming part of their tissue. Then we eat it, but fish like sardines that don't consume other fish have a very low heavy metal content. So that's why you see it. Like you look at a bottle of like a fish oil, omega product, it'll say like anchovies, sardines.
It'll
like
tell you the fish that come in it.
The fish that they've made this from, because again, they're very, very low heavy metals. But heavy metals is a very big issue that a lot of people have that we see. Maybe have thyroid issues, or they're taking some hormones or some hormone disrupting things going on. A lot of times it's heavy metals, and we could test for that. Yeah. We test with either hair or urine, and then when we check, we have a heavy metal detox we put people through, and all of a sudden they feel like there's a new person because you've gotten rid of like the aluminum, the mercury, the lead that's built up in their bodies. Now these are things like, when people talk about vaccines and vaccine injuries and stuff like that, a lot of it's heavy metals that occur from all these vaccines. And so you have to detox. We work with kids and families, and these kids that have had a lot of vaccines, that we work on detoxing their body, and all of a sudden a lot of their behavioral issues go away. And it's just like, and then parents are just forever grateful because like, I feel like I got my kid back, and it's like, that's what I say, like those are wins in what we do.
When you start talking about, trying to get people's balance correct, is this a 2 month, 6 month, year? Like what is a standardized process for the upgraded human when they come into it? Like, what are the expectations?
It's definitely a little bit longer than conventional medicine because, you have a symptom, you feel low libido, your test is 300. When you do some, your testosterone is 300. So we're going to give you some tests. And when you take tests by itself, like within a week or two, you're going to be like, man, I feel like a new man. I'm chasing my wife around the house.
Hence the blue band on my arm right here. I've had to go donate blood because testosterone, I'm on this. But testosterone makes your blood thick over time. And so every 3 months you have to go and donate blood to give that back. Now my blood is a type that they really want, so they're just knocking on the door. They're really happy that I'm doing this now, I guess. But at the end of the day, like it's a cycle, right? Yeah. It builds up, it gets thicker, I have to dump it out. And then I can start over again, builds up, gets thicker, and dump it out. These are things I didn't know when I started doing this thing, but to elaborate, you can talk about.
Yeah, so, it is a little bit longer of a process doing it more the natural way, we'll call it. Okay. And because there's been such a new push and a less taboo way of now everybody's like, you got to get on TRT, and that's not maybe the answer for everybody. And I tell people all the time. Now, am I on TRT? I am, but that's because I've used a lot of PEDs my whole life. And now when my wife and I were working on getting pregnant, I came off everything. I went through my whole protocol on getting my body natural testosterone back and my fertility back, and we naturally conceived a beautiful child. Yeah. And, now coming after, because my test was lower than I wanted it, and then just from years of probably beating up my body, I got on a very low dose of TRT again. And, about 120 milligrams a week right now is what I do. And, people are probably like, well, BS. But, I literally could probably go do labs right now, and probably my levels are probably about 800 or 900. Nothing crazy.
What is crazy?
If you start hitting the over probably 1,600 to 2,000s, it's not that it's crazy, it's just unnecessary. Yeah. And it's like, well, what's your goal? I just want to be healthy and feel good. And well, it don't need to be that high. You're causing a little more stress on the body. And then a lot of other things start happening because of that. Estrogen's been likely to become an issue. Yep. So then when your estrogen is too high, the doctor's going to prescribe you an anti-estrogen medication. Blocker. Then with that, when that happens, and all of a sudden your cholesterol ratios get whacked, because usually a lot of those will beat up the good cholesterol. Like your good cholesterol plummets, your bad cholesterol goes up, total cholesterol goes up. So then all this cholesterol issues start happening. So then what they do, we got to get you on a cholesterol medication. And then what's that? I mean, it's this whole cycle that ends up happening because of testosterone being too high or the improper way of kind of protocoling it. So I like to help my guys truly understand, like, if that's not for you, then we absolutely can help you. And I mean, there's numerous cases. I could probably show you a stack of blood labs that people we've come to us that say, my libido's in the dirt, don't want to do TRT. I'm 35, 40, 45 years old, and I just want to feel my best. All right, we're going to put you through a protocol, but you got to if you're really going all in on this and you follow what we tell you, you're going to get results and you're going to feel good. And you're going to continually feel better and better and better. Because we address all these things. We're addressing inflammation. We're addressing the way, where you're malnourished, what is not, what's inadequate with vitamins, minerals in your body, giving it what it needs. And then all of a sudden, within a 2-month period, 3-month period, we'll start looking at retest the labs, and we'll see sometimes a double in testosterone, maybe 600, maybe 800. I had one of my clients, he just turned 45, his testosterone's 1100 naturally.
Wow.
So, I mean,
that's wild.
Can that happen? Absolutely. But you look at total lifestyle too. Like, are you, vaping and smoking every night before you go to bed? Yeah. Are you eating a lot of processed fast foods? Are you, doing all these things that are counterintuitive to your health to be truly upgraded and optimal?
Are you getting enough sleep?
Yeah, getting enough sleep. Are you stressed out? Are you, are you just running yourself into the ground? Are you drinking energy drinks all day long? All these things play a role and affect you.
Yeah.
And that people just take for granted. They're like, I just, drink 3 Monsters a day. That's totally fine. Like, I don't think so.
Yeah. No, I remember when I first got tested, I was like 325 was the very first one. And then I went back, you have to get 2 tests or whatever. And so I went back the second time. And I had a bunch of art projects, I'm an artist as well. So I was like focused on getting a lot of things out the door. And so for that next week, I'd burned the candle at both ends pretty heavily. I went back and got tested. I was 220. And they were like, yeah, we got you. We'll just start this process up. Well, I was talking to a guy like months later and he was like, oh, that's the easy way to fake the test. He's like, you want to look like you got some low testosterone, go without sleep for a couple of days in a row and then get up there and your body will naturally let that dip.
Yep.
So I thought, at some point, like, man, I got tested. I did this legitimately like I thought I was supposed to be doing. Got on this, was on it for a while, but maybe I did myself a disservice by not letting this thing ride for 6 months or a year before I found out if there was some bounce back, or even talking to someone like you. It's like, hey man, this is my lifestyle. I'm burning the candle at both ends. I'll always be burning the candle at both ends. What's necessary for me to stay legitimate, because I didn't come to someone like you and say, do a holistic view.
Yeah.
I did a solve this problem now, and by solving this problem now, I've prescribed myself to something for the rest of my life, And so that's something that I don't take lightly. I try to stay off anything. I'm not on cholesterol stuff or whatever, but it's just like, once you get to where you have to do something for the rest of your life, it doesn't sound that bad. It's once a week for the first couple of months, and then it's a year, and then it's just like, oh my gosh, is it Thursday again? Good gosh, here we go. So just keeping up with it, it's just another thing that you have to do, which would be great if I could have just naturally solved this to begin with,
Yeah. No, absolutely. And the natural way is what we like to have most people do. Now, there's extreme cases where that's not the best solution or the solution that's working. So, we can view other routes or alternative routes, but 90% of guys who are higher really can naturally do it. Are you going to be 270 jacked and ripped? No, it's probably not going to happen for you. But can we work with what genetics you have and really get your body healthy and you feel vibrant and kind of go into your late 30s, 40s, 50s, feeling great and healthy and energetic and have low inflammation and have your body like optimized in that way it's you're not in pain, that you feel energetic, you're not sleepy through the day. Like, there's guys that come to me that they get on testosterone, feel great. A month or two later, like, man, I'm starting to get tired again. Starting to drag again. Like, because that wasn't the answer. That was part of the answer, testosterone, but there's all these other things going on with inflammation. Then, we can go deeper. And I love doing like genetic tests on people where we check like, how is your body converting vitamins into energy? Like, it's such a, like, that's where the important part of vitamins, like B vitamins are so important for converting in energy. And, when people talk about the MTHFR gene, where a lot of people are mutated and don't have the ability to convert B vitamins properly, so it'll cause inflammation. But with that comes lack of energy. And then all of a sudden you start giving people the right vitamins based on what their genetic code says. And we usually could tell by the blood labs. Like when you're good and you kind of know, you're like, all right, we know what's going on. It probably has a mutation. We're going to give these right away. And all of a sudden, within probably a week, people are like, man, I have all this energy again. Because your body's creating the energy instead. You're not artificially stimulating it with Adderall. You're not artificially stimulating it with, things like Nuvigil or caffeine and stuff like that. Like you're giving your body letting it work for itself. Yeah.
I've had a few B12 shots sometimes when you go in there, and man, when you have a B12 shot after that, it's like, I'm back, and it's crazy, but and it seems to like a month later or whatever, you're like, I really need to kind of catch back up. And I don't want to get on a cycle of doing that either. So it's, it's one of those things where I think it's beneficial for everyone to come talk to somebody like you, first off, that has the experience of what you've gone through. Like you know everything that has happened, from the types of muscle fibers to building your body up to taking it to the top of the world. And And now you're there to give advice to all of us out there that are just, kind of dipping our toe in the deep end every once in a while and walking away. So I really appreciate like all the insight, that goes with that.
Oh, I love it. I love, because it's really, and there's more and more of us like starting to come out in the world, and more information about this type of healthcare. I think this is the new wave of healthcare out there. I think a lot of people, like especially post COVID, have gotten like turned off or turned away from the conventional stuff that people are just prescribed more and more medication, and people are like, I don't want to be on medication anymore. I want to get my body healthy. I want to feel good.
Yep.
Because, even though you're taking a medication to fix a symptom, more than likely it's going to have some kind of side effect on you. I mean, there's no perfect medication out there,
right.
So again, if you really want to get your body dialed in, like, going the functional health route, doing this right, getting your body, and it takes a lot of work out of you. And that's the one thing some people don't like to do. It's not like take a pill, sit in your ass, and things are just going to magically change.
Yeah.
Like, no, you have to be intentional with the way you eat. You have to like not look at food like this is something I enjoy and it's got to be this super fancy meal every meal. Like, you got to look at food as for function and for fuel. Your body, you got to learn and build the relationship with food and not be so toxic. Like, there's toxic relationship with food too. Like, people, treat food like a drug, and
everything doesn't have to taste good.
No, I mean, you can make it taste better, or, learn that, you're eating this to fuel your body. Like, we as humans do not make our own energy. So we have to consume calories and food in order to create energy. And then obviously we're like a vehicle. We got to put in energy and fuel in order to run. So why not put the best fuel in it? You're going to feel better. I like to use metaphors like that all the time with my people, especially like my car guys. I have a lot of car guys come to me. I love that world. And I'll be like, if you got a race car, your car makes 1,000 horsepower. Are you going to put just shitty pump 87 in it? No, I'm going to run, 100 octane in it. And I'm going to put C16 in it. Well, do the same thing with your body. Put better food in it, and watch, all of a sudden you're going to start feeling better. Getting away from a lot of I was one that was kind of, for many years, was kind of against the idea of, going all organic. And that absolutely made a big difference. I suffer from a lot of allergies, and a lot of allergies stems from like your immune system overload in the body. And I believe like the amount of, pesticides and chemicals that are on a lot of the non-organic foods caused a lot of the allergies I had. So I really kind of worked on rebalancing my immune system. And in Texas, during springtime, like I needed 2 to 3 allergy pills a day to get through spring in Texas, because the allergies is crazy. The last couple of years, I haven't touched an allergy pill.
That's awesome.
Like, which is, I more or less fixed myself. I've been to, allergists. I've been to ear, nose, and throat doctors, allergy shots,
Skin
the whole
pricks.
deal.
Yeah.
Did it help a little bit? Yeah. But it's just, again, just masking symptoms. Like, why not get my body healthy, get my immune system rebalanced where I'm able to manage this? Now do I still have something come on me every once in a while? Like, yeah, but I'll utilize something like liposomal vitamin C to kind of give a little jolt to my immune system to fight that histamine off, and boom, like all of a sudden I don't have the itchy eyes and runny nose gone away, and because I let my body kind of do it on its own, and it's just so much healthier. And so many people are just, taking stuff like Tylenol every day, Claritin every day, because they think it's just part of the normal routine, but that's not really healthy long-term. We're thinking long-term, because we're very short-term thinkers, especially with the instant gratification society we live in now, with the way everybody, wants that. Let's take a shot of test because my test is low. Or I got a headache. Let me take a, well, like, that's why. Like, why are you doing this? So what we try to do is think, hey, what do you, when you're 60, 70, 80 years old, how could you be your healthiest and make that 80 like the new 50?
Yeah.
That's what I want to try people to frame that a little differently.
Where can people find you through your website?
Well, everything that I've kind of talked about health-wise is Upgraded Human, upgradedhuman.com.
Okay.
It's a great way to find us, to set up a call with us, get, if you got some questions, you want to get some blood work done, you want to figure out your health and kind of get your body dialed in. We love helping people. We got a great team. I'm one of the team members in there that you likely will talk to and we'll, review stuff and go over stuff with you. And then anybody on social media, it's just Steve Kuclo, Kuclo. I'm the one that manages my social media. People reach out, send me messages. I'm more likely the one that's going to see it and respond. So
you've got a few followers on there.
I do. Yeah.
Have you seen, speaking of social media, there's this one guy that's doing like, really thin guy who's going around and seeing all these guys who are like throwing up tons of weight. What's his name? Anatoly, I think his name is.
The little janitor.
Guy goes around and all these guys are like trying to, and he says, "Oh, I got a better solution for you," or whatever, and starts throwing up all the weight. The guy's like professional bodybuilder or whatever at or power lifter at his age, but
one arm.
Yeah, throwing stuff over his head and doing stuff and blowing these guys' mind or whatever. Well, if you want to see that in person, come check out Steve. That's the real deal. The guys, if you want to feel bad about your arms, you want to feel bad about something, come put yours right next to this guy. You'll see a size difference in hustle. But anyways, I just want to say thank you so much, man. I really appreciate you being on here. Like, dude, it has been an absolute pleasure to talk to you and, just to see how humble nature you are and everything like that. And the one thing I did want to say, the family, you said, I promise family, here it is. I'll rewrap that. What was it like taking family all the way through this? Was it like tough to do? Was it hard to balance?
I guess to kind of finish the writing Steve 2.0, the new chapter, and it's funny, that's kind of what I tell a lot of people that reach out to me, and I send some emails back and forth. I always say their name, and I'm like 2.0 because I'm about to create a new version of you. For me, it was what's going to be the next chapter of Steve. And then, as like you said, after that 2021 show, I gave you a little story about, I was like, I didn't have a family at the time. I didn't have any children. So I was like, I felt the urge of the kind of the selfish, career driven, man, I'm the guy. Like, all right, it's time to think about this next chapter. And then when I met my wife, Michelle, I was like, she's the one that we're going to make this happen. And she's an amazing, amazing mother and so blessed to have a great woman by my side. And then when we found out we were pregnant, it actually was just a quick story. Like before the 2020, I decided to come back 2022 and do that same show that I got second at. Literally 6 weeks before that show, my wife came to me. She goes, "I'm pregnant." We've been kind of trying, but before a show, your body's not the most fertile. It's kind of like being on excessive TRT, we'll call it. You're on a lot of stuff. Yeah. Your body shouldn't be that fertile, but by the miracle of God, she got pregnant. Yeah. And literally the week of the show, she miscarried, and that was probably one of the most difficult times I ever had to go through in my life. And to see her crushed, and then I had to, I didn't pull out of the show, still went through with the show, but I was just like, just my heart was crushed. My soul was crushed. And then after that, it took about 6 months to get pregnant again with my son. He's the fourth generation of Stephen, but we go by his middle name, Gabriel. So we call him Gabriel. And boy, God went and outdid himself on this one, because he's my little mini. Everything I could want in a little boy, he's it. So I'm very blessed with that. But like that new chapter of being a father is definitely the most fulfilling purpose driver ever in my life. Like now knowing this, I was like, man, I wish I could have 10.
No, it's the most rewarding thing you'll ever go through, and I'll even tell my children who are 19 and 16 now, like, you won't know how much, when I tell you I love you, what that really is until you have your own. Yeah. It's just, there's no words to explain it.
Like there's my wife told me that, because she had children before we were married, but, and I said, well, I have just an undying love for my wife. It's a passionate, romantic love, but that love you have for your child is just so unconditional. It teaches you an unconditional love. And, no matter what they do or say, or, you want to smack them and be like, what the hell? But at the same time, you're like, I love the shit out of that kid. Yeah. Like, he could, pee on me and I'm, yep, all right, that's my boy.
I could burn a whole town down and I'm still got his back. I don't care. Got his back. That's my people. I don't care.
Yeah. So,
yeah. But anyways, honestly, like, super, super humble spirit, man. It is. I didn't know what to expect. I thought maybe Do You Lift Bro was coming in here, but honestly, like, what a great spirit, man. What a really humble cat, and I hope that we get to talk more often, man. You've kind of encouraged me to get up and do something, and so I appreciate that, man. Just with the words.
It goes both ways, man. I appreciate what you're doing, getting a good message out there, and I think anybody that's got a platform that could work and do it for the good and help get good messaging out there, that's very important, because there's a lot of bad messaging. A lot of things have a kind of underlying reason behind it like may not be the best if it's just trying to make money or just trying to monetize on something. You hear, especially the health and fitness world is notorious for, you look at guys like the Liver King and stuff like that'll fraud their audience to try to sell a product.
Right.
In reality, they're lying, you know, and I don't believe in that. I'm a man of integrity that I believe I'm going to do what I say what I do, and be the guy that I'm going to put out there, and that's who I am. And so I'm big on that, and so you utilizing your platform for good, man. I mean, I think it's amazing, and I appreciate you having me on, really. And I look forward to building the relationship and the connection for sure.
Yeah, man, absolutely. Well, everybody, until next time, that's Steve Kuclo and the Blueprint. Peace out.